When you like Ventura TV Appliance on Facebook, it's nice. But when you love the KitchenAid appliances we deliver, it's even better. Our website is cool, and it's a good place to start, but you really should touch the merchandise before you buy. Save big with KitchenAid. Right now, get up to a $1,000 prepaid MasterCard when you purchase select KitchenAid appliances. Get the best selection, price, and service in town without waiting. Come in to Ventura TV Appliance and touch the merchandise today.
Attention all units. We have reports of 2 motorcycle cops protecting California's highway.
That's for us, good buddy.
The Men of Chips are on MeTV.
Hi, I'm John Baker. I'm John Baker. It's Officer Baker.
He's the blonde one.
Hi there. Officer Poncherello, ma'am.
Frank Poncherello.
Oh, I'm Frank Poncherello.
And he's the one who's Eric Estrada.
There's no way I wouldn't remember a name like that.
Catch the blonde one and the one who's Eric Estrada.
Now on MeTV Fresno, Xfinity 187.
Hi, I'm John Malice. Welcome to this live edition of Connect with Me on the showroom floor at Ventura TV on this day. It's a Friday morning, and today it's kind of a hodgepodge, but we're talking mainly about child abuse and mental health issues, along with drug abuse right here in the Central Valley. Remember yesterday's show with Flynn Anderson? Today we're going to kind of continue along the similar lines, I would say. 436 MeTV, option 11. We're back in just a moment. And welcome back to the program here on a Friday morning on the showroom floor at Ventura TV. I'm glad to have you along. I'm glad the weekend is here. We can kind of relax and kind of catch up and gear up for next week. Hey, it's a very interesting program here today, considering we had Flint Anderson on yesterday. And remember, just not more than a month ago, we had Peter Nazaridian here. He is a family therapist and a counselor talking about depression. So we're going to kind of continue along the same theme today, but not exactly the same, but somewhere in the neighborhood of depression, mental health issues, that type of thing. Anyway, Monday through Friday, you can watch us, as I always say on this program, on Comcast Channel 187, 43.6, and 13.1. You can't miss us if you watch us on those channels between 10 and 11 o'clock in the morning each and every Monday through Friday. If you want to watch the replay, be my guest, my friends. 2 o'clock in the afternoon, 13.6, YouTube, 8 o'clock at night on 4.6 Biz TV, and of course the YouTube channel. You can watch us 24/7. And the Twitter account at John Mallows Me TV. As you know, we've talked about this before here on the program, especially in the last month or so. Such a growing concern here in the Central Valley, not only about child abuse, but about mental health issues, suicide type issues. And it really is affecting so many families right here in our area. The question is, and always has been, who is there to help? What agency? I want to put a picture up, my friends, of Kingsburg High School. Recently, a string of tragic events shook up the community of Kingsburg. Back in March, a 16-year-old student, Megan Snyder, died in a car crash. Within the last week, 2 apparent suicides by students who attended the same school. 2 big articles in the Fresno Bee in recent days outlined the heartache, the shock, and disbelief of what had just happened. Each year, there are about 4 teenagers under the age of 18 who actually commit suicide in Fresno County. Maybe it's a little higher than that, but that amounts to about 20 kids the last 5 years. Armand Bacon, an author, a writer for the Fresno Bee, had an article the other day about facing teenage suicide. Bacon, of course, a guest on this program many times, lost her own son who had depression. She even wrote a book about it. Live in our studio right now is not me, but her, Becky Kramer. She is the Executive Director of Comprehensive Youth Services, a nonprofit organization that's been around for 40 years. The focus is on child abuse, mental health issues, providing a full range of services, and you are welcome to call in and ask Becky any and all questions that are on your mind. The telephone number has not changed. It's the same as it always has been here for the past couple of years, 436-MeTV option 11. Call in, weigh in if you have a concern about a family member, a concern about yourself or others, and we will get to your questions and your phone calls in just a moment. We're right back here on the program after this.
Hello, I'm John Walsh. We need your help to capture this fugitive. Julio Cesar Guevara Mejia is wanted by the FBI in Sacramento for the attempted murder of a 19-year-old female in November of 2007. Police say he lured the young woman to a hotel room where he shot her 3 times in the chest. He could be in Palm Springs, California or Houston, Texas. Contact the FBI at 1-800-CALL-FBI if you have any information.
Euronews, most watched news channel in Europe.
Back here on the program and talking about comprehensive youth services. That's an agency, a nonprofit agency. It's been around for quite some time. And today we're going to continue our conversation, kind of what we left off with yesterday. Becky Kramer is here, the executive director. And, you know, we had Flynn Anderson in the house yesterday talking about, you know, drug abuse, heroin use is up in all the high schools and this and that. Explain, first of all, before I ask you some questions about this Kingsburg thing and all the suicides that have taken place the last 5 years, what does your organization do to try to help families cope, let's say?
We provide a wide range of counseling and mental health services, so we will work with the family, we will work with the peers, we'll work with the schools to help them with the grieving process after a suicide.
Yeah.
Because there's so many layers of issues. There's questions, there's concerns, there's a lack of understanding of what happened. There is the grief process, which is very difficult to deal with. So every person kind of has a different perspective of that from their own perspective. Even, you know, like a teacher's at a school. You know, they lost their student. They lost somebody they cared about. But yet they're supposed to be there to then help the other students deal with, you know, their loss. And so, you know, they're kind of doing double duty in terms of, you know, trying to deal with their own issues while helping others. Mm-hmm. So our job is to help the family, the students, the schools deal with the loss, deal with what's happened, and find their own coping mechanisms to
Becky,
address
do you
it.
go into the home?
We do have home services.
Really? What do you
So
do there specifically? If you like, for example, the Kingsburg incident, gee, I mean, within just a week's time or just a short period of
Right.
time, not sure exactly what the time frame was, 2 students were gone, committed suicide.
Right.
What do you do? Do you go into the home and talk to the family?
Well, in different cases, we'll do different things depending on what the need is for that particular situation and what the family wants us to do. Some families welcome us into their home. Others prefer to come to the school sites to be seen. Others prefer to be left alone. They're not ready to talk to somebody about what's happened. There are also other organizations such as Survivors of Suicide Loss that will go into the home because they have volunteers that have been through that same process. And so having somebody who's been through that process can be very helpful too.
But what services do you provide? You provide counseling? Okay, what else besides counseling?
We have master level therapists. So they either have masters in social work or marriage family therapists. So we provide therapy ranging from doing the prevention work. So if somebody's identified as having any symptoms, depression can look like, you know, the sad, the loss, the can't get out of bed that you all expect to see. But it can also come out as anger, as irritability, as
totally shutting down.
Totally shutting down, the withdrawal. It can be a whole range of things that you would not expect, especially in adolescence. And then it's difficult to determine, is this normal adolescence or is this above and beyond that? And so what
So how do
we
you determine that?
Well, we talk to the students, we talk to the people and ask more direct questions. So what's been going on? What are you thinking about? We'll ask directly, have you thought about suicide? Do you have a plan? Do you have a method? Do you have access to the method? Because a lot of people are afraid to ask those direct questions, thinking that they will put ideas in a person's mind. You don't put that into their mind. They already either have it or they don't.
Well, let me ask you something. If you have a teenager, let's say, that's very talkative one minute and the next minute they're totally shutting down, what are some of the telltale signs of, say, if a person is having thoughts of suicide? What are some of those signs? Can you tell us?
It can be, yeah, if they are...
One moment, caller.
If they are, you know, talkative and outgoing one minute and then shutting down the next minute, it could be a normal, again, we all have those moments
Well,
where
what
we
are the
don't feel like it.
signs that are
So
the
you
giveaways?
would look at, are they withdrawing and not accepting any support? Have they shut off their friends completely? Are they shutting down out their family? Are they giving away possessions? Are their grades dropping at school? Are they're not participating in the sports or their music programs or the other activities that they normally would do? Then that's a sign that things aren't okay. You also look for, again, the anger and the irritability in youth, because that can be a telltale sign. You've got a kid that's normally pretty nice and well liked, and then all of a sudden, you know, having these angry outbursts, and it's like, what happened?
Where did this come from all of a sudden? What's
where did
going
that come
on?
from? And that's coming from a feeling of desperation, hopelessness, helplessness, and not knowing how to cope.
Yeah, and I'm going to ask you after this call here how you go about helping a teenager like that. Go ahead, caller, you're on the air.
Yes, good morning. Talking about depression, I was the type of person that never believed in depression, that it could make a difference in a person's life, but I went through it myself. After being able to see for 49 years, I lost my eyesight, and it affected me so bad that I sank into real depression to the point where I couldn't move I wouldn't get out of bed. I became totally paralyzed. I ended up in the hospital. And let me tell you, it made me wake up to the fact that there is depression does affect you in a lot of serious ways sometimes. Don't you think?
Did you? I'll let you answer that. Go ahead.
Well, and I just want to, first of all...
Stay there, caller. Stay there.
Thank you for your courage to call in and say what you're saying, because part of the thing about depression is that people have a hard time talking about it. People have a hard time believing in it because you can't always see it. It's very insidious. It is hidden oftentimes. And so the more that people talk about it, the more it helps other people. So by you calling in and you talking about it and you sharing your story, that is helping other people realize that, yeah, even though we don't think it can ever happen to us, it can. And that we do need help and we do need support and we do need to learn coping skills for it.
Did you feel, let me ask you, caller, did you feel that the depression was almost paralyzing to you?
Yeah, I think so, because like I said, I lost the full use of my legs. I had to learn to walk all over again. And this has been 18 years, and I'm still trying to get back the full use of my legs. I still have a hard time standing by myself. I have to hold on to something. But I think what helped me is that my kids, who are now adults, and my grandkids, they were part of my recovery. They were there for me. They've been very helpful. And I think we all need that type of support. And mine was there when I needed it.
Okay.
Yeah, support's really important. We do need people, whether it's family or friends, to be there for us. And the important thing is, too, to allow them to help us and support us. Because sometimes we want to shut them out, but that's like the worst thing we can do. We really need to find ways to let them in, and you did that. And that's really great.
Yeah. Okay, caller, thank you so much for having the courage to call in. Thank you very much. So how do you go about helping a teenager who is going through just this withdrawal period. And what I mean by that is just withdrawing from life altogether, whether it be family, friends, school activities. How do you go about helping that person?
Well, we will find ways of connecting with them.
Well, how do you get that person to open up?
So what you do is you can't like force somebody to open up and talk to you.
Yeah.
But you can let them know that you're there, that you care about them, that you want to help them. You know, yeah, people go, well, you get paid to do this. Well, okay, yeah, we do. But we're also doing it because we love to do what we do. We truly do care. And we find ways of understanding and matching where the person's at and who they are. So, you know, if I can find a kid that, you know, likes sports and likes football, well, okay, well, we'll talk about football. Maybe they're not talking about their depression, but maybe we're talking about football for a while. At least that's a connection. At least that's a way of engaging them. You know, we will find out who their support systems are and help them learn how to help their teenager how to cope. So maybe they don't open up to us, but maybe they open up to their parent, or maybe they've got a best friend that they'll open up to. So then we'll work with the best friend. Okay, this is a way that you can help your friend. We'll be there to support you so you're not on your own. But we'll find, it's like whatever route it takes.
We'll find some way.
We will find some way. We're very persistent in that because we want to make sure that the suicides don't happen.
All right. We're talking with Becky Kramer, and she is the Executive Director of Comprehensive Youth Services, a nonprofit organization here in the Central Valley that helps with depression, even child abuse and all sorts of things. You're welcome to call in. 436-ME-TV, option 11. You know, mental health and depression, a huge issue right here in the Central Valley. A lot of it has to do, too, with drug use. And we talked with Flint about that yesterday. Back with more of your phone calls in a moment.
We need help to find this missing child. Patrick Alford was 8 when he went missing. He was last seen in Brooklyn, New York in January of 2010. This is what we believe he looks like today at age 12. If you have any information, please call the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children at 1-800-THE-LOST. That's 1-800-843-5678. Please help bring Patrick Alford home.
Want to create something extraordinary? Create perfection. Our lifestyle appliances make it easy. KitchenAid, Ventura TV appliance, and you, when only the best will do.
Big topic today, depression, drug use, if you want to throw that in. And, you know, child abuse is, I don't know if it's, would you call it rampant here in the Central Valley, child abuse? Or
it's rampant everywhere. I mean,
really?
Parents just don't have the knowledge or skills of knowing how to address children and teenage issues. And so oftentimes they've learned from their families, or they get frustrated, they want to teach their child, but they just don't have good mechanisms of doing that.
You know what helped me when I got out of line when I was a kid? I didn't have depression issues when I was a kid, but I mean, I was scared to death that my dad was just gonna, he was just gonna whack me one. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And so that kind of kept me on the straight and narrow. So, but you don't find that in this day and age. You don't have parents that can scare their kids like they. Mainly that sometimes the parents are scared of the kids now.
Right. And
that's not good.
And fear isn't necessarily the best way of teaching kids. I know that what happens is I hear a lot of parents go, well, my parent did this and I did okay, so therefore, you know, I should do the same thing.
Yeah.
But what we have found over the course of years that there's more effective ways of dealing with kids.
Yeah.
And kids are dealing with very complex issues and dealing with complex pressures that, you know, we didn't necessarily have to deal with when we were kids.
Yeah.
You know, I didn't hear about a lot of suicides when I was a kid.
Me
I
neither.
didn't hear about kids self-injuring and cutting themselves.
No.
The substance abuse was, those kids over there, but it wasn't as rampant as it is today. So a lot of the issues, and just some of the world issues that we're dealing with, aren't the same as what we dealt with. What we're finding is that there's better coping skills, there's better parent strategies, and so that's part of what we do at Comprehensive Youth Services, is we really want to teach parents a better way of coping with the kids, helping them on the right track, because that's really the parent's goal, is, we all want successful children.
Yeah. Caller, are you there?
I'm here.
Go ahead. You're on the air with Becky Kramer. What are you thinking today? What's on your mind?
Well, I'd like to ask Becky if it's possible. I'm 69 years old. I've suffered what I consider normal losses, deaths from family and friends. Mm-hmm. But I truly don't think I've ever been depressed. So I wonder if that's possible, or if that's some sort of denial on my part. And then what are some of the symptoms of depression? Because maybe I just don't have the knowledge to be able to identify that I've ever been depressed.
That's a great question. So what are some of the signs that someone is depressed?
It is...
Am I depressed? Look in my eyes and tell me. Can you tell?
I can't tell just by looking at somebody.
Okay. All right.
I have to talk to them.
Okay.
I have to find out what the symptoms are. So I'm
what
looking
are the signs,
for...
though?
Well, you're looking for the sadness. You're looking for withdrawal. You're looking for anger and hostility. You're looking for a feeling of hopelessness. And again, we all get angry. We all have losses. No, we don't all get depressed just because we run into bumps in the road, or because we have devastating things happen in our life, such as losses and difficult losses.
I want to know if that caller is still there. Are you there? He's gone. Oh, okay. It's too bad.
Yeah.
I was going to say, if you're still watching the program, call back in, 436-ME-TV, option 11. Maybe you can ask him some questions and find out if he is depressed. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So
if you're so inclined, call in, and maybe you can kind of figure it out, because you've got some experience. We got a call coming in now. Let's see if it's the same call. I don't know it. Caller, are you there? Go ahead. Caller? Hello?
Yes. Let me ask a question to Becky. I've been around kids. I mean, I'm beyond the 60-year age, but when I was younger, a lot of kids, I want to find out, especially the suicide percentage. Do you think that a lot of them come from a well-to-do family? I knew a young 12-year-old that came from a great family and all that, and had issues with suicide, and I approached the parents, you should listen to your kids, and they kind of got upset with me because, I was interfering, but I wasn't trying to interfere. I was just telling them that you should listen to your kid. He told me that they never told him they loved him and all that, so he kind of drew away from the crowd, and he was a brilliant little kid, but it hurt me because when it happened to him, I approached the parents again. I told them, it's not that I wanted to tell you things because I was angry or anything, but I just wanted to approach it so that maybe you can get some help for the young child.
Right, and that is a good thing to do. I mean, not all parents are open to hearing that their child is suicidal. That's a really hard thing to hear as a parent, because we love our kids, we want them to be okay, and so but it is good to try to help the youth. Suicide and depression can happen amongst any age group, any socioeconomic group, any cultural group. It is not more prevalent in one or the other. It is throughout. Other cultures, religions, families view it in different ways and have a harder time understanding it than others. And again, some people will go, well, you've got money, your kid is a 4.0, what do they have to be depressed about? Well, that can be a lot of pressure for a young person. So it can be difficult for anybody at any age.
Or a kid trying to measure up to an uncle or a father or some other
or a sibling.
Person. Yeah, a sibling. Yeah. Caller, you're on the air. Go ahead.
Yes, you asked me to call back. I called in a couple of callers ago.
Yeah. Hey, thank you for calling back. What's your first name, sir?
Dave.
All right. Listen, why don't you ask him a few questions and find out if he is going through depression, because he's been through some hard times, losing some people through death or suicide or both. Go ahead.
So the first thing I would ask is, what would make you think that you are depressed? What is different than how you are now than you were previously?
Well, that's my question. I don't think I've ever been depressed, and yet I've suffered what I think would cause some people to be depressed. So,
so just because you've been through difficult things doesn't automatically mean that you would be depressed. Everybody has different coping skills. Everybody has different support systems. And so just because you go through something doesn't mean, oh, if I go through this X, then I should be depressed. And if I'm not, then something's wrong with me. So, what I would look at is, are you continuing to be productive? Are you continuing to function in your life? Are you, if you're working or volunteering or just, gardening or having hobbies, are you continuing to do those things? Are you continuing to do your social life the way that you used to? If you're doing those things, then no, I mean, you don't have to be depressed.
Yeah. Are you still there?
I am.
Are you productive? Are you functional? Do you have a social life?
Well, of course, that would be a personal opinion on my part. Yeah, I think I've been productive all of my life.
Okay. Okay. Then
some people say I'm not as productive as I should be, but
well, that's debatable.
That's always a matter of opinion.
Maybe as you get older, you're getting a little more lazy, like me. I mean, we all get to that age. I don't feel like doing that. I'll do that next week. Something like that.
Well, see, my personal opinion is the way I approach life. We're all going to die someday. So when people die, obviously you're sad about losing somebody that you've known some part of your life.
Right.
And the personal belief is I'll see him again.
Right.
So I'm going to that for a little bit, and then you got to keep going on. One foot in front of the other, and get down the road because there's something else to do.
Yeah.
So that sounds like a normal grief loss process. Anytime we lose somebody, we're going to go through a grief loss process, and we all do it differently. So there's no right or wrong in it, but we're all going to grieve. And we all have also our own personal beliefs about the loss. And it sounds like your belief helps keep you in a more positive framework so that it doesn't lead to depression. That's your part of your coping skill, which has worked for you.
All right, great. Hey, thanks for calling in. I appreciate it. That was a good call, and thanks for helping out there. And we're going to continue to try to be productive and functional here on this program. I don't know. It's going to be tough, but I'll try to move this thing along. 436-ME-TV, option 11. We're back in a moment.
Hello, I'm John Walsh. We need your help to capture this fugitive. James Bell is an alleged child predator. Bell's wanted for molesting 3 girls ages 9 through 13 while working at a local YMCA in 2003. He was arrested, then fled. Bell has worked as a gymnastics instructor, coach, and a computer repairman. Bell could be anywhere along the West Coast. If you know where he is, call 617-742-5533.
Tune in to Heartland for the best in true country music. Relive vintage specials, one-of-a-kind concerts, and country music's earliest videos. Heartland is the heart of country, the only place where you can find country music, country stars, and country lifestyles 24/7. Heartland, the heart of country.
Now on channel 13.2.
We're back here on the program today on Connect with Me, and no laughing matter. I mean, we're kind of having fun with this a little bit, but depression is a very serious topic. It's a serious thing. It can lead to suicide, drug abuse, all of the above. Caller, I think you're there. Go ahead.
Yes, I am. When I was in college, some 40 years ago, I had a friend, and she was the one who walked in to her brother's, into the house where her brother committed suicide in the shower, where he taped up the shower so it wouldn't make a mess, and it really bothered her. And I know she went to counseling for like 2 sessions, and they said, "Oh, that's good. She doesn't seem to be overwhelmed with it. She's all right." The question that comes to my mind is, prior to suicide, you treat the individual. Shouldn't you treat the entire family? Because the family is the one who may be the triggering device for that individual to commit suicide.
Okay.
Great question. First, with regards to your friend, that when we have a tragic thing that happens in our lives, it can bother us for the rest of our lives. If you see something like that, it can cause post-traumatic stress disorder. Just like you hear about the vets coming back from war, they see all this horror. Yeah. Well, that's horror what your friend saw, and that can impact and affect you the rest of your life. And sometimes you need mental health treatment even years after something like that happens. In our programs, we do have, at our agency, we do have a number of programs that do family work. Probably one of our most effective ones is our functional family therapy program. We serve all of Fresno County, and it's for youth ages 11 to 17, and it is specifically targeting family relationships. So we're dealing with, so the youth is referred for whatever reason. It could be, anger management problems, it can be depression, it can be, anxiety, suicide, whatever.
Yeah.
And but we'll treat the entire family in order to help the youth.
Okay. Good. Does that satisfy? Okay. Well, we have another call. I think the other one left. Caller, we have a new caller on the line. Go ahead. Are you there?
Hello?
Yeah, you're on the air. Hello?
Yeah, I got a question. Are you there?
Go ahead. You're on.
Okay, I got a question. I was married for 20 years, and I lost my wife 18 months ago.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that.
Hard.
Okay, I've been going through depression and stuff, but a lot of people have been telling me to forget about it. It's over. It's done with. She's gone.
No.
But I still can't get it out of my head.
Right. And that's a common response from people because they're uncomfortable with it. They don't know how to help you. And so, their words are trying to be helpful, but just because somebody says, get over it, doesn't mean that that's what we can do.
Excuse, caller, I hope you're still there, but and I don't mean to be so blunt, but isn't that stupid when somebody says that? Get over it. I mean, come on.
It is.
You're married for 20 years. My parents were married 65 years, and when my father lost, my mom and his wife for so long, you don't just tell somebody to get over it. That's ridiculous. I mean, and I'm no expert. Am I right about that?
It is not helpful to the person. It is a lack of
respect.
No, it's a lack of knowing what else to do. Again, when I say, if they're saying get over it, they're trying to be helpful. They have good intention.
I don't know.
It is not based out of knowledge of what to do differently. And so part of what we do is try to teach families and friends and peers of how to do other things differently, because they just don't know what to do.
Is the caller still there? You are?
Yes.
Okay, listen.
Yeah, I want to ask.
I'm not.
A question.
Okay, go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Okay, I went to the and was drugs to control my mind. And to me, okay, I just didn't feel comfortable taking. I told them that I have medical conditions that collide with some of these mental drugs.
Yeah.
And then all they did was tell me, well, we can't help you anymore. So what I did was I went to the phone book looking for a therapist that I can talk to, and I got an appointment with her, talk to her.
Yeah.
But she seemed more compassionate than the county did. Is there a problem or breakdown with the county mental health system?
Go ahead.
You know, I think that anybody can have good experiences or bad experience with any particular agency or organization. So, you know, I'm not comfortable saying, oh, there's a problem with the county system. I think the good thing is that you found somebody who's compassionate and understanding towards you. And that's another really good point, is if you go somewhere and you don't find the answers you're looking for, you don't continue with them. You find somebody who fits with you well and that you feel comfortable with and feel supported by, because really that's an important piece to the therapeutic process, is the trust, is the feeling of that this person can help me, that this person understands me. Otherwise it doesn't work. And so you need to, you know, find somebody that matches you, and it sounds like you found somebody who's really compassionate towards you, and that's a really great thing, and I'm glad that you found somebody.
Yeah. Hey, I got to say this before we go to break. You know, you don't get over losing someone. I mean, I lost my brother 29 years ago, and I still haven't gotten over it. Okay, it's a loss that stays with you for a lifetime.
Right.
That's all.
And
it's as simple as that. And you just have to go on. You put one foot in front of the other, move forward, but you don't forget.
And what I tell people is, you know, if I won 10 grand in the lottery, I'm going to remember that day for the rest of my life. And I'm going to have a feeling about, ooh, that was great for the rest of my life.
Let's hope it's more than 10 grand.
Yeah, I'm hoping it would be too.
Million.
But just like we don't forget the good memories, we don't forget the bad things that happen in our lives either.
Hey, that's a good point. And on that, I got to take a break. Is that okay?
Okay, that's great.
All right. Becky Kramer is here from Comprehensive Youth Services. They are dedicated to providing a full range of, say, prevention, intervention, treatment, educational type programs. They're here to help, and our phone number is 436-ME-TV option 11. We'll give you Becky's phone number, not her cell number, but we'll give you the office number so you can call her or the agency itself to seek out some help. We're back in a moment.
We need help to find this missing child. April Andrews went missing when she was 15 years old. She was last seen in Pea Ridge, Arkansas in November of 2006. This is what we believe she looks like today at 23. If you have any information, please call the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children at 1-800-THE-LOST. That's 1-800-843-5678. Please help bring April Andrews home.
Frigidaire. It means the first refrigerator. It means a history of innovations that help make your home life better. And now we introduce the new Frigidaire French door refrigerator with over 100 ways to organize for maximum flexibility. Built with adjustable flip-up and slide-under shelving and stackable crisper drawers. It's the refrigerator that flexes to fit it all, no matter what your day will bring. Frigidaire, over 90 years of legendary innovation.
See the full line of Frigidaire appliances at Ventura TV Electronics and Appliances.
Back here on the program on Connect with Me on this Friday morning, and talking to Becky Kramer, Comprehensive Youth Services. And I want to ask you, hey, a couple of email questions before we get to some full screens here. Isn't sleep disorder a sign of clinical depression? Hey, that's a great question. Do you know the answer to that?
It can be. You can have a sleep disorder without depression. You can have a sleep disorder that's part of depression. So you can see changes in sleep patterns, changes in eating patterns that can also be signs of depression.
How likely is suicide for an offspring of a suicide case?
Depression can be hereditary and genetic factors involved in it. So if there is depression in the grandparents, the parents, aunts, uncles, cousins, there is a higher likelihood of depression in the youth, which could also include the siblings.
All right. I don't know if you know who Peter Nazaridian is, a very long time family counselor. You know who he is? You do. He's a good guy. He's been here on the program several times. He's kind of a regular now. So last time he was here, we talked about why we are the way we are. And we've got 6 full screens. I don't want to put them up one at a time. That's number one. How we get to be the way that we are. What emotional dynamics shape us, and when does it happen? Can you answer that?
We're shaped from
the time we're born?
Born. Yep.
Wow.
Birth on, well, even pre-birth. You know, if the mother's taking drugs, or whether prescription or non-prescription, that can have an impact on us.
But you can come from a family who doesn't necessarily take drugs or alcohol or anything, and you can turn into a druggie.
Correct.
Just by the people you're hanging out with.
And you can come from a family that has substance abuse issues and not be a drug addict. That goes both ways. And it is your support system within the family and without the family that helps.
That one right there is such a great question. Do things affect us forever?
Yes.
They do?
But in various amounts and ways. So both you and I could go through the same experience.
Like losing a parent, let's say.
Like losing a parent.
Okay.
One of us could become depressed, and one of us could go through a normal grieving process and deal with it. So it's going to affect both of us, but maybe differently.
All right. It's going to be up to us if we want to change, but can we change it? And if so, how? I mean, that's going to be up to the individual, right?
Right. It is up to the individual, but it generally, for more deep level issues, it requires help and assistance. For any issue, it requires help and assistance. You don't learn how to ride a bike by yourself.
Right.
You don't learn good mental health by yourself. Well,
I have the hard knocks to prove it. No, I know what you're saying. I'm making fun of the issue, but it's really not a joke. But so those who are, and we're looking at the next one here, but before I want to finish up on that last point where you're saying those with deep depression, they can't get out on their own. They have to, they need the assistance. They need a helping hand.
Right.
From somebody. And so that's very important to keep that in mind, right?
Right. So for deep level depression, you really want to seek out an expert, a mental health therapist to assist you, and then they can also talk to you about the routes to go in terms of what's best for you.
Yeah. Okay, next one. Okay, how come most people don't change? All right.
We all change. If you think about how we were, who I was 10 years ago, who you were 10 years ago, we've all changed. There are some things that remain consistent and stable, but it is a matter of what skills do we have that determines what we do with it. As I learn new skills, I learn how to cope with things differently.
Medication, is it going to help, and how does it work?
Medication, it can be very beneficial for some people. For others, like the caller earlier was not comfortable with medication and wanted to go the therapeutic route first. Some people want to go to the medication route first. You know, it is really up to an individual preference, but medication can help. But even with medication, I strongly recommend therapy in conjunction with it.
All right. I'm not sure I can answer this, and I'm not sure what Peter said about this. I have, you know, I can't remember what he said, to be honest with you. But all right, do we all have 3 common issues that are virtually common to all of us? And if so, what the heck would they be? I just can't think right now. I don't know.
Well,
we're all human. That's one.
Right. I'm thinking we all want to be loved, and we all want to belong.
Right.
And so I would think those things would be common to all of us. I'm not sure what Peter said either, so I can't.
I forgot. Darn, we should have pulled a soundbite from the last program. You know, I do want to talk about schizophrenia a little bit. Do you deal with that?
Usually, we'll see the onset of it in the adolescence. So usually what we're doing is we're the ones that are noticing the initial symptoms, and then at that point when it becomes clear and evident that that is really the issue,
And
we
how-
will refer to experts in the field.
And how prevalent is schizo in young children?
It usually you'll see it coming out in the adolescence. That's
Is it prevalent here in the Valley?
It's prevalent everywhere. I mean,
But do you see a lot of cases of it, I guess is what I'm getting here in the Central Valley?
we see a number of cases. That's not our biggest population. We would see a lot more depression, anxiety, post-traumatic stress disorder,
But
those
you
kinds
do
of
see
things.
it.
But we do see it.
And you do help. Okay, we
do
put
help.
some full screens together here that you can take a look at as far as schizophrenia is concerned. We've only got 4 of them, but you know, this is kind of describing it, a long-term medical disorder of a type involving a breakdown in relation between thought, emotion, and behavior. Is that pretty much how you see it?
Yeah.
All right, change it to the next one. We can kind of continue on. You know, you go through withdrawals from reality and personal relationships, fantasies. You're being delusional to a certain extent, and a sense of mental fragmentation. And so, is this pretty accurate as far as you're concerned?
Yeah, and you will just like for people to get a picture of this. When you see a lot of homeless people on the street and they're talking to themselves or they're saying things that really are nonsensical to us, a lot of those are suffering mental health issues, and a lot of them are the schizophrenia symptoms, and so they're not getting the help that they need, and that's part of why they're homeless.
All right, now here it kind of hits home today because we're talking about youth. Usually starts in the late teens to early 20s.
Right.
In men, it's like late 20s, women early 30s. Symptoms must start or may start suddenly or happen gradually. So these are kind of some of the signs, I guess. They start, you know, it can start at a very early age.
Right. It can start, I mean, we've had youth very young that we've noticed it in, but most of the time it is in the teenagers, and they will be doing something odd and unexplainable.
Yeah.
Which makes sense to them. They will give an explanation of what they're doing and why they're doing it, but to the rest of us, we're like, okay, we're not getting it. That's a clear sign that...
Here is the next graphic here. Okay, these are some of the signs for kids. If there's a change in friends, if there is a drop in grades, if there are sleep problems, irritability, paranoid ideas, family history of psychosis. But you know, look, I've got teenage kids.
Right.
I see sometimes they change friends.
Right.
There has been a drop in grades.
Right.
Sometimes there are some sleep problems because they want to stay on their electronics. That doesn't mean they have schizo.
No. And again, some of these symptoms are like what we talked about with depression. And
Yeah.
so unless you get an expert who is able to diagnose,
Yeah.
then, you know, but these are warning signs. If you're seeing these things, these are signs that you need to get your child to a professional. And again, not just, if staying up to do electronics and play on their iPad or video games
That's
or
an
whatever.
addiction, by the way.
That is pretty much normal, you know, kid
That's
stuff.
an addiction to electronics,
Yes.
Becky.
Yes, and that's a parental issue of, okay, I'm turning it off, go to bed, we're done now.
Yeah, right. Not in my house. Are you kidding me?
We might need to work on some
Wake
parenting
up at 3 in the morning
skills.
and they're under the covers going like this with the iPad. Okay, what's that all about? Anyway, 436 Me TV, option 11. We're back here on the program in just a moment.
We need help to find this missing child. Delano Wilson was 1 month old when he went missing. He was last seen in Indianapolis, Indiana, August 27th of 2014. If you have any information, please call the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children at 1-800-THE-LOST. That's 1-800-843-5678. Please help bring Delano Wilson home.
When you're looking for Whirlpool innovation and quality, who has the answers, the selection, the price? Ventura TV Appliance. With billions in nationwide appliance buying power, more than Home Depot and Best Buy combined, we'll help you save. Our low prices on Energy Star qualified Whirlpool appliances save you energy and money, and pay no interest on select models when paid in full within 12 months. Ventura TV Appliance, serving you since 1951.
Back here on the program, 436 Me TV Option 11. Becky Kramer is here. I'm glad she is. And is there a preemptive medication that can be given to children who have a genetic predisposition for mental illness?
I am not a doctor or psychiatrist, and so I'm not familiar with that. But one of the thoughts that came in over the break was that what can be helpful and preemptive is exercise, eating healthy. When we tend to not exercise, or we're eating junk food, or not eating at all, that can increase depressive symptoms. Because if we're couch potatoes, we become more irritable.
How about going to the movies or going to a ball game?
You know what? And having, fun activities, things that
Yeah.
we enjoy.
Yeah.
Whether it's movies or sports or music or whatever, doing things that we enjoy can be really helpful with depression. And laughter.
Yeah.
Having a good laugh once in a while, and, having good friends and families can be extremely helpful in combating any mental health disorder.
Yeah, let me ask you something about the suicides in Kingsburg. What's your organization doing to try to help out there?
What we do is we have a counselor that's on the campus, part-time there. She and one of our supervisors worked with the Kingsburg team on helping the students, the faculty, the other administrators of the family cope with this. This is what we do as part of our student assistance program.
Yeah.
Is we work with the schools on dealing with the aftermath of suicide.
Do you talk to the families over there, or?
We'll always try to talk to families in any suicide case.
Yeah.
Some are more receptive. Again, maybe it's just a difficult time for them, or maybe they've got other support systems that
Why
they would
so many
prefer.
suicides here in Fresno County the last 5 years? Up to 18.
You know-
Why? Talking about teenagers.
It is, again, just they are dealing with so much, and they just don't have the coping skills on how to deal with everything that's going on in this world. And they get so much information through social media. You see the cyberbullying. You see they just get you see more of the war and the terror on TV. There's just so much. There's more access to drugs and alcohol. There's just so much more that they're dealing with.
There's a video that I want to run. It deals with Prop 63. It was passed back in 2004, and it deals with mental health issues. It's an initiative. It's funded by the state of California, but those people that are making $1 million or more, it's taxed to them by 1%. That's how they fund this thing.
Right.
And I think, if I have my facts correct, they've raised millions of dollars, up to $13 billion the last 10 years or so for Prop 63. Quickly explain what Prop 63 is and does, and then we'll roll the videotape. And how does it coexist with your organization?
Prop 63 is the Mental Health Services Act. So what it does is it funds mental health programs. For our agency, it funds 2 of our programs, our functional family therapy program. It's partial funding for that, and for our Bright Beginnings for Families, in which we do parent-child interaction therapy. That's for
So you receive, your agency receives money.
We receive money through the Fresno County to do some of our programs.
Through Prop 63.
Through Prop 63 funds. And so what you're going to see in the video is a parent and teenager who've received services through our functional family therapy program, and kind of the outcomes that they receive from them.
Hey, and it features in there the video. Let's take a look at it. Chris Curtis, our friend from the Fresno County Sheriff's Department. Let's take a look at the video now.
Innocence runs wild down the middle of a dark and busy street.
Well, we were flagged down by a community service officer from Fresno Police Department who was actually holding a child, a young 4-year-old boy.
You seen this guy before?
It sounds like this is the second incident in the last month that the child has gotten out.
Family members, including mom, arrive at the scene.
We learned that the child got out of the house. He was being watched by siblings. The mother was at work, apparently.
Officers keep the child occupied, awaiting the inevitable. He won't be going home.
The mother was ultimately cited for child endangerment, and the child was taken by Child Protective Services. Well, you're talking about at-risk youth. This is where it starts. If you're not, you've got to parent your child.
Families in crisis, Fresno is coming to the rescue.
I'm a therapist for the Functional Family Therapy Program with Comprehensive Youth Services. I travel out to their home, to client homes, and visit with families and provide therapy in their homes. CPS potentially could be a referral source for us, yes.
Clara and her daughter Ariel were referred to the Functional Family Therapy Program by school personnel. The teen's behavior had set off alarms.
It was quite difficult in and out of homes with my mom because she was an alcoholic and a drug addict, and so we were homeless sometimes. I was a very angry person who was cutting, doing drugs, skipping school.
Cutting or self-injury is an unhealthy way to cope with emotional pain. The family was falling apart, and Mom finally hit rock bottom.
Sometimes we just stayed as friends up until I turned 13. Then I ended up going to foster care, and she went to rehab and got sober.
All right, that's Prop 63, and again, that's a proposition that was funded back in 2005 because it passed in 2004, and $13 billion later, you're getting some funds out of that.
We're getting some funds out of it.
Right, and it's helped in a big way with you?
Right. It, again, allows us to do our functional family therapy, which is dealing with the teens and their families. It's specifically family therapy to help with, you know, helping the families help their teens, because a lot of times families have no clue.
There are going to be those naysayers. They're going to say, what do we need Prop 63 for? It's a waste of money. You're taxing the rich. It's a waste. What do you say to some of those people that maybe would oppose a proposition like that?
Well, when you look at the suicide rates, a lot of times the kids that we've helped, we've prevented those suicides. When you look
through
at
Prop 63?
Through our Prop 63 program.
Wow.
Through all of our programs. When you look at depression, you see the irritability, the anger. It leads to gangs, it leads to substance abuse, it leads to crime. We're preventing crime. If we can get to these kids early enough, we can prevent them from being in prisons, from robbing and stealing, from...
Yeah, but I was angry as a teenager too, but I didn't end up in a gang or do drugs, or I didn't end up in jail. I didn't do any of those things. So is everybody different, I guess?
Everybody is different. So again, we could go through the same experience but respond to it differently.
Okay.
So, you know, one of us may end up in a gang and using drugs, and one of us may become a news anchor.
Yeah. Don't do that. Look to the computer industry. That's where all the money is.
Yeah. I wish I was better at it, but I like my job. I love my job.
Yeah. Becky, you're a very pleasant lady. Thank you for coming on, and come back again.
I will.
Maybe you can come back and be like a kind of a semi-regular here if you like that.
Yeah, that'd be great.
All right, Becky Kramer, Comprehensive Youth Services. Quickly, what's the phone number? Quickly.
559-229-3561.
Good deal. Hey, have a great weekend, my friend. We'll see you back here Monday. Hey, guess who the guest is going to be Monday? Tony Body. He is from the Fresno County Sheriff's Department, a former media person. What station did he work for? We'll tell you on Monday. Have a great weekend.